Do what? Yeah. No, you're. Is it light green? Yeah. You want it to be.
Good evening, guys. I'm Dr. Tipton, the principal here at Alcoa High School, and on behalf of Alcoa City Director of Schools, Rebecca Stone, and Alcoa High School Athletic Director Josh Stevens, we would like to take this opportunity to extend a warm welcome to you guys. Thank you for being here this evening. To our students, parents, faculty, and staff who are here with us, members of the media who are here, and other distinguished guests. We appreciate you spending your evening with us on this special moment in the life of our school community and our football program. It's also a time for us to say thank you to each of you for your continued support of our school and of our athletic programs. We're all very proud of the tradition of success that we have here at Alcoa High School, and thank you all for your part in that. Thank you for supporting our students and our coaches. And finally, thank you for being here on an evening that we're excited about as we transition to our new leadership and begin writing a new chapter in what is a really remarkable story of Alcoa football. And so with that, please join me in welcoming Alcoa Athletic Director Josh Stevens.
Thank you, Dr. Tipton, and thank you, as he said, to everyone for being here tonight. Alcoa football is a very special part of the city of Alcoa and Alcoa City Schools. The leader of this program has the ability to mature, mentor players into men that will be better husbands and fathers because of this program. I could not be prouder to welcome a man that will work every day to make a positive impact on our young men as he leads them to graduate and to be champions. I am most excited about the person of character, the father figure that he will be as the head football coach of Alcoa High School. Please help me welcome now the 21st head coach of Alcoa High School, Mr. Brian Nix.
Sit down. Thank you guys for coming tonight. It's very humbling to be in this position. Somebody asked me this weekend, well, how did Friday feel? And I said, well, I was up at 7 o'clock doing weights like I have been for about 16 years, so it felt pretty normal. And I think that's why I'm blessed, because I'm 45 years old, first year as a head coach, and I'm as prepared as I can be, and I'm in a situation that's as good as it can be. To be able to take a job in a community like this, with coaches like this around me, with the players that we have, with the academic support we have in our school, the administrative support we have in our school, it's pretty special to be a first-year head coach, and that's how you started out. And so I'm very thankful and very humbled to be here. I wanted to thank Coach Rankin. I tried to get him to come tonight, but he loves the crowd and attention. That's not his deal. I wouldn't be here without him. He's mentored me as a man. He's mentored me as a husband. He's shown me that your time with your family is the most important, the time you spend with your children, your wife, and that you don't have to devote your entire life to the game, that you can be great as a coach, you can be great as a husband, great as a father, and there won't be a day that I take a football field where I won't feel his influence and I won't feel his impact. And, it's funny, David Sweetland and I were talking about when he got the job, they told him that they wanted him to bring some stability. They'd like a coach that will stay here, 4 or 5 years. And that's what's amazing is, that was the idea then of being stable in this program. And I think it's up to a point when Gary had gotten the job that I think Alcoa had 5 head coaches in 11 years, if I'm not mistaken. And that's hard for people to realize, because now people see this as a destination job. This is a place, if you get here, you don't want to leave. And I think that's how not just only Gary, but a lot of these other coaches have evolved this program. And I'm very thankful to have been a part of that. Thank you to my family. I have the most supportive wife in the world. She supports me in everything I do. She loves this program. She loves our players, and she's always been behind me. The time has never been an issue. I never once felt like that I couldn't put in the time or the energy that I needed, because I always had the support for her, and she pushes me. She's an extremely driven person herself. She's an extremely successful person herself. and she definitely pushes me to be the best that I can be and work the hardest that I can. Thank you for all the rest of my family that's here, all the people that poured into me and got me to this place. I can't say enough how thankful I am and how I wouldn't be here without them. And just the opportunities that were given me. I never played football till I was in 8th grade. No one in my family coached football, had played football, and football gave me friends. Football gave me belonging. Football gave me something that I could be a part of, a place where all I had to go out and do was work and perform, and I was given value. And that'll always be, I always remember that kid, me, who came out and I had long hair down to here, and I had a Motley Crue back patch on, which my man, Dr. Tipton here can, relate to that. I don't know if anybody have noticed it, but Caleb and I have a lot more in common than him and Gary had in common. That's the first thing when Caleb got the job. That's what Gary said to David Sweetland. He says, I think he's got a lot more in common than Nick's than he does me and you. So anyway, but that kid that came out and really had one friend in the world in the football, I didn't have to make the football team. And the football program took me in, and as I worked and I got better, I got time on the field. I had a relationship with guys and pretty much empowered me in my life, and that's why I'm here. That's why I still do what I do. And I think winning is the worst metric you can use to measure success, because that's not always going to happen. Are you growing a young man? Are you developing them? And are we adding to the school? I've got this job, all these coaches have this job to improve Alcoa High School and to improve Alcoa City Schools, and I don't want to ever lose sight of that. We have as much continuity, I think, in our program from the middle school to the high school. I'm meeting tomorrow night, David Sweetland and I are meeting tomorrow night with our youth league coaches than we've probably ever had. And I think that's a testament to the leadership from Becky. It's a testament to what Caleb and Josh have brought. It's a huge testament to what Chelsea has brought to our middle school, Chelsea Long, and the relationship that we have with them now. And all that's going to do is help kids. In the end, that's going to help kids be more prepared when they come to high school, and more kids. We want as many kids as we can in the football program. We don't care if they're good people, and if they're struggling, we want them to, because this is a place where we can help them. This is a place where football can be the carrot that we dangle for them to do right in school, for them to get their work done, for them to do the right things that they're supposed to do when they leave. And I don't want to ever lose sight of that. And I think that's an example. Gary, once again, we hardly ever talked about winning and losing. We know here. I know everybody's like, you better be ready to win or lose. It's Alcoa, buddy, right? But if you do all those other things, that always takes care of itself. And there'll be times when you had an opportunity, you don't win a game, but there's not going to be many opportunities when it's a game you should have won, you're in position, and you didn't win it if you've done all the things possible to help put those kids in a better situation. If there's ever anything that you see I can do that I can help this community, I can help your kids, please come to me, because I'm here, and I promise you I'll be better in a year than I am right now. I promise you, I'll be a better coach. I'll be a better coach next week than I am right now, and that's what I want to continually do. We were talking about when Gary got the job 16 years ago. I said, I'm way more prepared to take the job now because of the growth I've experienced, because of the coaches I've had. I think when Gary got the job, there was one coach in the building, and there was a lot of struggle to get continuity within the staff. And I'm not just saying it because most of them are in the room. There's not one guy on this staff that I don't love and I don't respect as a man. Take away the football aspect. They're good football coaches, but the kind of parents they are, the kind of husbands they are, and I would want my kids to be coached by them. So I'm very thankful for that aspect, and it's humbling to be here, and I'm just so excited about the opportunity. And if you never need anything from me, please let me know. And I couldn't be more excited to get to work and try to continue. That's what Gary had said. He wanted to establish solidarity in this program. He wanted to establish consistency. And I think the struggle in Alcoa is to get better. How do you take what we're doing right now and get better? And I think if you keep focusing on the experience for the kids, and are you addressing needs? Because the needs of kids have changed. They change all the time. But if we're continuously addressing the needs of our players, then our program's going to be better and our community is going to be better. So am I taking questions? Is that what I'm doing now? All right, questions. Stephen.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
But the finality, the moment that you had that conversation with Gary, he's turning it over, you're the next guy. Do you recall it? Was it live? Was it like on the other night? Did you guys talk about it at school on Monday or something?
Well, it's something that had been progressing for some time, that had been going along and moving along. When we were finally going to announce it and make it final, I don't know if I said this to you, Miss Rochelle, but it means hopefully I never have to leave. That's the, you see, as your career goes on, you want to make sure that you're growing in your career. And that was, it faced me with sometimes some choices of whether to stay here or not. That knowing that, will I have this energy forever? I hope. Will I have this passion forever? I hope. But I'm not naive to think that there's going to be some growth and there's going to be some growing pains in being the head coach. And I didn't want that to get too far down the road in my career. So I was faced with some choices a few times of having to leave here, which is the last thing in the world I wanted. There's not many company men anymore. My dad worked for the same construction company for 46 years. The same company, 46 years. My papa, Max Kelly, worked for the aluminum company for 40. He came home from World War II and he worked for the aluminum company for 43 years. And if you see a person who's stayed at the same job 5 years now, that seems pretty special. And there's not too many company men where you pour your life into a place in an organization. And the fact that I get to do it, and especially in coaching, because most coaches, especially if you want to be successful and you feel like you want to grow your career, and I think that's where I'm blessed too. I've got incredible family support, incredible support from my wife, where I didn't feel like I had to reach and jump for a job. And so I think, having that conversation with Gary when, I knew that, because to me, it's not my job because, there's so much that goes into this. I promise you, nobody does more for Alcoa football than Brian Gossett. All right? Right, coaches? You don't want to pay that dude by the hour, okay? And so, when I start looking at it and everybody's like, man, do you feel but I don't feel as much weight and pressure as maybe I should just because I know the support I have. I know the guys around me and the stuff that they do. And so I was just real excited, when it kind of meant to me, unless I really run this ship aground and mess it up and they have to run me off, I don't have to leave. I can stay here like I've wanted to. Yeah, I think initially right now I will just because it's something I'm comfortable with. I at least know I can do that job pretty well. And so, but I think a girl, you always want to make your staff better. You want to get as good as you can get. And so if I ever had the opportunity to pass it down to a younger coach, someone who's on our staff, and I think there's people on our staff that could do that, or bring someone in from the outside, I would always be open to anything that's going to make our staff better. And we have great coaches on our staff, and we have guys that definitely capable of doing that. But definitely for the immediate future, I would definitely do that just because there's a comfort level, and that's something I'll have to learn is the management of the game and the organization of the game from not just having control of the defense, but yeah, that's something I'll keep doing for right now. Yes, sir.
Scott Merrick, Class 84, big fan.
Hey, Scott.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I had to talk to Coach Reed, and when can we get them on the schedule?
I don't know about that. Have we checked with Rome? I think last time I checked, they had 5 defenders that had signed SEC scholarships. So we may wait a few years to get them on the schedule. But yeah, they've got a great program down there, and he's done a phenomenal job down. Yeah, as he's done everywhere he's been.
Obviously, as a head coach, you need to instill your own brand in your program. Is there a specific brand that you want to instill into this program, or is there one that's already been there that you sort of just want to move on?
Yeah, I think the brand is there, and once again, it was established by Gary. It's established by all the coaches on this staff that you put your players first. You put the needs of the kids first, and you coach with energy. You coach with passion. We coach very differently. David Sweetland is a very demanding coach, but he and I coach very differently. If David Sweetland yells at a practice, some stuff really went wrong, right? It went some stuff really, like everybody stops and like the traffic stops, where I'm yelling all the time. I hope that the majority of that time it's positive, but I think the kids, they feel your passion, they feel your energy, and I think David and I talk about it all the time. Be married to principles, not methods. that, the principles are that teams that play the hardest, defenses that pursue the football, offenses that block and execute, minimize negative yardage plays, all those things, that needs to be your brand. Some years you got to run the ball more, some years you got to pass the ball more. Some years you're in a 4-3, some years you're in a 3-4. And you better be willing to do that in high school football, because you don't get to pick the guys that you get. But I think the brand is just, and I say to the kids all the time, the choices you make you. And Joe, just developing and teaching those young men to make good choices. I can't set a directive for where they want to go in their life. That's what I want for my kids. I want them to decide what they want to accomplish, what they want to achieve, and then I can tell you the choices you need to make that happen. But I think it's teaching them to make good choices, because that's what ultimately makes you have success or failure. If you do all that stuff, then the football's the fun part. I mean, the Saturdays that we always talk about, the Saturdays and Sundays in the playoffs, and we're here at 7 in the morning on Saturday and here till 8 o'clock at night. So that's the fun part. That's the part. That's the chess match. That's the thing that makes it exciting. But it's dealing with the individual needs. When a kid won't do his algebra homework, getting him to do that and understand that that's just as important as the other. To me, that's the work of the job. That's what makes the program consistent. All right, and I'll get you next.
I'm not trying to beat you or anything, but obviously when we have Maryland. It still matters now.
Yeah, I mean, there's 2 wins that matter at this place, right? The state championship game and the Maryville game. I mean, you beat around the bush about that, you'd be crazy. And to me, it's not so important to me, it's important to our players. I mean, David always says it, Goose says it, it's awesome at the state championship game when those kids go to get that trophy. That's the best part of the whole year. I don't care about the ring. I don't care about the shirts. I don't care about when they're getting ready, and they hand the runner-up trophy, which we've got one of those, and that is not fun. That's what, when we had the runner-up trophy, Rowan told me, she said, Daddy, it's okay. She goes, it's okay we got the silver trophy. She goes, but it would have been a lot better to get the gold trophy. And that's the thing they live at. Also, Rowan was talking to her and Katie Beth, Goose's daughter, were riding in the car one day, and she was talking about how 2020 was the worst year ever because of obviously, COVID. And Katie Beth said, what about 2014? That was pretty bad too. And Rowan goes, what happened then? And Katie Beth said, you don't remember that state championship game? And I'm like, you don't think these kids live it. But they absolutely live it. But to our players, the Maryville game's important. So it's important to me. And, it's important to me that you come in and that you have an opportunity to win that game. And I think, every year, the past 5 years, we've had opportunities where we've had to execute. And any big game like that, when you're playing a school that's larger than you, that's well coached as they are, you can't make mistakes. But I think you've got to go in with the attitude that you're going to do everything possible and enjoy the moment of that game. Not many high school football players get to play in a game like that. So to just go in there and enjoy that moment, know that that's one, Gary said that all the time. I'm going to make a mistake in that game. The quarterback's going to make a mistake. We're going to miss tackles, but just focus on the good things that you're going to do. And so I think you should never underscore the importance of that game just because it's important to the kids. It has value to them. And, so in 2018, Walker Russell and that senior class, David and I were talking about the other day that just such good kids, man, it was a good class of kids. Not as many scholarship talented guys, but just a bunch of good football players and a bunch of just solid kids that would stay in there for 4 quarters and battle in that game. And to see them, still that's the best part of that game. When we strip that ball and Adonis gets that fumble, and our kids are coming off that sideline. Of course, Gary's get back on, but he knew, like I knew, that thing was over, right? And so that's and they'll carry, those seniors will carry that forever. And so to get to give that to kids, that's how you determine what games are important. What's important to the players? Yes.
Opportunity. So what does it mean to have this first opportunity and for a program like Alcoa? What does that mean to you?
Just once again, I think I'm blessed that this is where I get to start. We just, most of the time, even if it's not your first head coaching opportunity, when you're taking a new program, most of the time it's because something wasn't going right with the other guy or the other girl. It's very rare that, hey, everything was going fine, but just like now, that Gary's going to just hand this over to me and let me take this. That's usually not the case. And so usually you're going to where you've got staff issues, you've got culture issues, you may have issues with administration, issues in the school, and I have none of those. You know, the culture's strong here. Our players know the expectation, and we don't have to set it because they set it for themselves. Nobody wants to win more than those guys, I promise you. And nobody hurts more when we lose than those guys. And so I don't have to go in and instill what it means to win. Our guys know what it's like to be in tough four-quarter games. Our guys know what it's like to beat West in double overtime. You know, I got coaches who understand what it means to coach hard and coach with. I don't have to go in and lay out a practice plan. I don't have to go in and worry about what's going to happen with special teams, what's going to happen with our offense. I'll tell you, I'm going to have complete control of that offense. I'm not going to do anything with it. All right, I'm going to let the mad scientists back here have it, and you know that I don't have to think one thing about that. Yeah, it's a huge blessing, and so I'm very fortunate to be in that case.
What's one thing that you specifically learned under Coach Rankin that helped prepare you now for this role?
I always go back to this, but I think it's the time. I think it's don't work 1 minute that you don't have to. Because there's so much, and there's, especially for our players. I mean, this year we'll start 7-on-7 5 days after the 4th of July. We'll play the state championship game if we make it that far 2 weeks before Christmas. That's a long year for a 16-year-old. And so I think valuing those kids' time, not making them do any more or work any more than we have to. And so, you know, what's that minimum effective dose? You know, what's the minimum amount we can do to still get the success that we want, but not just to make it where, you know, we always say we want to sprint across the finish line. We want our guys game 13, 14, feeling energy and felt, man, we're ready to go, as opposed to just, and we've talked about it. There's been years where we felt like we drugged through the end. And we've tried to look back and see what were the reasons behind that. Why did 2 years ago, man, we were just flying at the end, and then this year, not necessarily this year. I thought we played. You know, we were strong through the finish, but there, you know, the 18 year, we talk about that. You know how near the end, man, we could feel that season kind of getting on their back, and some of that I think was the pressure of beating Maryville and some of the pressure that those guys put on themselves. But I think it's the time is the biggest thing, and just. To work every day. You know, that's always, you know, Gary always says what you see is what you coach. And so take ownership of your position, of your players, and if they're not playing good, don't ever blame a kid. Because that's what he'd always say, well, if the kid's a problem, what am I paying you for? You know, and it's 100% the truth that you know, if the kid can't be fixed, then what good's the coach? And so just those examples, and he doesn't look over your shoulder. You know, I think that's one of the biggest things. When you're given a job, you want to do that job with, you want to have some control and some responsibility. And if it wasn't going right, Jason, he'd come into meeting rooms every once in a while and he'd want it fixed, but as long as it was going fine, he wasn't going to tell you how to do it. Now, I think that's why all of us are in a good place, because he allows you to do. He didn't micromanage things. And so I think just how he treats you as an assistant was huge. Yeah, just maybe congratulate. That's what was. I mean, I guarantee you, I don't know how many phone calls, how many emails, texts, and that's and the best is when it's from your former players. You know, it's best. It's when, and I got one from a guy this long who, if I told you that he was the one that sent it, you'd be shocked. Okay, but just how much we did for him, how when things went tough for him, we didn't give up on him. He had trouble at another school and had to move over here, and we didn't look down upon him, and just how, you know, we really made him feel value, and you know, that's why you do it. And so all those, you know, D. Herbert sent me a text from Germany. You know, he's somewhere in Germany in the Marines. I mean, just these guys who are out. Sam Thompson is flying fighter jets and somewhere in Japan. And, you know, because he was like, his text was, you know, this is like encrypted or something, you know, and it's typical Sam Thompson fashion. You know, Sam just can't tell you, like, you know, when you were out, like, you know, mowing the yard, Sam's like creating an algorithm or something. But, you know, the fact that, you know, he's in Japan flying these F-35 fighter jets, and that he sends me a text, you know, so happy for you. Thank you for all that you've done for me. And I think that's what makes it, you know, that's the most special. It doesn't have to be the guy. It doesn't have to be, you know, Randall sent me a text. but it doesn't have to be from him. You know, it doesn't have to be from just the guys who are the top-notch players. Connor Miles, you know, there's not been a better kid, better human being in our school. One of my favorite players, a guy that just, man, he milked every ounce of talent he had in his body, and you know, started at 3 different positions for us. And you know, he's a successful business guy right now, and him sending me those texts and guys I've coached with. So that's what meant a lot to me. You know, and it teared me up a few times, just, you know, from some of the guys and the stuff that they were saying. Yes, hey, Mark.
Hey, Coach. Congratulations once again on the job as well. But being around the program for the last 15 years, I've talked to a lot of players, both past and present. Your name comes up with every one of them, and none of them seem to be football related. It's all a life lesson thing that you've said to them. Where do you draw upon that?
You know, I'm lucky in that situation that I'm in the weight room. And I think, you know, you look back at any of you that played any sports, like almost everybody likes the strength coach, because the strength coach doesn't, like, he just wants to get everybody strong, right? So you could be the 5th string guard, but if your bench goes from 200 to 235, the strength coach is excited about it. Right, and he coaches you, and whereas I've been around coaches where, you know, they'll coach the first and maybe one backup, and then nobody else exists. And so I think that you get that opportunity to develop a strong relationship with those kids being in the weight room, because they see instant gratification. You're working with them. It's a huge advantage that we get to do it throughout the day here. So I get all those guys spread out through classes, and you know, we've got a 90-minute block, or what now, 75, 80-minute block, and there's nobody works out. If you work out for 75 minutes, you're a better person than I am, okay? So, you know, every day we have 5 to 15 minutes, where some days I'm just like, study hall, get schoolwork out, but a lot of days I'm trying to develop them, and I'm just trying to think of things that would have helped me when I was 15, 16, 17, 18 years old. I read a ton. That's where social media, you know, the internet is like this, you know, wormhole of, like, you just go down the rabbit hole of all this stuff. But I am all the time, you know, screenshot and keeping, and just like Eric Spolestra, is that the head coach for the Heat? You know, he had a quote in a press, and that's what I talked to the kids about today. We had 15 minutes left, and I really didn't have anything on the docket, and I rolled through some pictures and said, oh, that quote, that one's good. And it was talking about humility. He was talking about the Duncan kid that had been a D3 player, and how, you know, the number one greatest, you know, trait he had was humility. And I was, you know, talking about them, the continual need to grow. And I think you get buy-in from those players because they know that that's not directly benefiting me. You know, when they play well on the football field, they still know that benefits me. It benefits me in my career. It benefits, you know, just my personal self-satisfaction. Me giving them things that'll help them 10 years down the road, they know that, I hope they see that, you know, I'm not doing that for me. I'm doing it because people did it for me. You know, I had parents, I had grandparents, aunts, uncles, people that loved me and cared about me and gave that stuff to me. And so some of our kids are not as blessed. I had so many people who loved me and cared about me and gave that to me. Some of our players are not as blessed, so I want to make sure that I take every possible opportunity, you know, to give that to them.
Coach, I'm going to make a statement. I'm going to tell you a story and make a statement about it.
All right.
Our grandson played at Powell High School football. And many years ago, I guess the coaches there now was just coach at that time.
Matt Love.
Yeah, he was. But anyway, when he was the original coach of Powell, and they were going to scrimmage Alcoa. And so I came over to watch the scrimmage here, and of course, Alcoa scored every time they got the ball. You know, but during that game, one of your defensive players made a great play, and nothing was ever said. You stop the scrimmage. Called all the players over and said, you just had one of your teammates make an excellent play, not one of you congratulated, and you made them all do push-ups. After the scrimmage, my grandson asked me, who was that guy? He's a good coach. I really appreciate it. You know, that was no total. I really appreciate the way you coach, and I just want to make that statement.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate you saying that story. Yeah, I would say football's it's a hard sport, and there's a lot more practice than there is play. I mean, there's not too many. You know, if we're blessed and we do everything right here, we get, Gary said, you get 15 little games, 15 little paychecks. But it's the truth. So when somebody busts through and gets a tackle for a 3-yard loss, it better be some chest bumping and some fist pumping. And I mean, that's what I always say about big games. You know, the Maryville game, the West game, some of those is like, you know, you may score in other games a 50-yard touchdown and people are up there buying popcorn. Like, oh, it's another touchdown. But, you know, in those big games, you get a 6-yard run and everybody's, yeah, behind every first down. That's what I, you know, try to tell our guys, that there's a great opportunity here to have a lot of fun because every good thing you do is going to be recognized. Sometimes, I mean, I'm over there, like, you know, I'm going to put you on the bus if you don't cheer for that touchdown. You know, I think there's a lot of work that goes into it, so you better enjoy it. Thank you. Yes. Okay, introduce yourself, please, sir.
Assistant principal at Alcoa Middle School.
Good to meet you.
Do you plan on making any staff changes since you're
Well, watching our film, we've got to get our defensive line playing with some energy. You know, there's no technique, there's no energy, pretty laid back, not very serious, kind of like the guy that coaches them. So we definitely, but you know, you get apprehensive about getting rid of a guy that carried M60 through Kosovo. So you know, I may have to rethink those idealisms. No, that's what somebody asked me. You can make any coaching changes? I said I hope I don't have to. I hope everybody, you know, I don't think you can take it for granted. Everybody's just keep saying I'm blessed, but I am, that these guys will stay on and work with me. I mean, there's so many coaches on this staff that could be a head coach, and to stay here. But I think that's what it's special about the way Gary ran things. It's special about this community. There's not many places like this anywhere, and there's really not any in the state of Tennessee that's going to have a community. I mean, this is downtown Alcoa, right? I mean, this school is downtown Alcoa, and what it means, and just how, you know, we live in a world where our country gets more and more fractured. Well, it's not on Friday night here. You know, I mean, it's different races, religions, socioeconomic division, all that. When you give people a common goal and you give them something to work toward, they'll unify, they'll pull themselves together, and it's as special here as it can be. So, you gonna stay on another year? Or are you gonna keep being Mr. Administrator? Think about it. All right. If y'all don't know, Coach Gamble's been my guy in the booth. Is it me, you, Jim, and Suds, right? Been the only one been here the whole time, right? And John, you know, if you don't know Suds, then you're not from Alcoa. But, you know, Gamble's my guy in the box and always has been, and that's what Jason Brooks used to always say, you know, when he'd get really frustrated with me and he'd be trying to tell me, and you can imagine I'm not listening on a Friday night, and that's what he'll go, Nix, he'll go, Brian. And then he would tell Jason what he'd take off the headset and say, here, you tell him, like that. So, but yeah. Yes, sir.
I'd like to share an interesting stat.
Okay.
Let's go back to 2004 in the championship game against Huntington.
No, let's not. Let's go back to the next. Let's go to 05.
Over 40 points. Mm-hmm. Fast forward to the last 3 state championship games. Procone scored 0.
Yep.
Milan scored 0. And East Nashville only scored 14. Less than what Boo Weathers did, and a whole lot less than, you know, what you did in your first state championship game. And your defenses have come a long ways. And for that, we're excited.
Thank you. After that first game, we had nowhere to go but up. You know, that's for sure. I always tell that story that John Reeves stomping around on the sideline and saying, am I going to have to take this thing over? And I looked over and I said, hey, man, if you got any good ideas right now, I'd love to hear them. You know, so there were definitely some growing pains in that game. We learned to keep things real simple and let your players play. And when you start looking at something and you're not sure if you should keep it or throw it out, we throw it out. Now, I'm lucky to get any defense out of our meeting room. You know, you think the defense coordinator, you could call and run what you want. That's not the way it is when you got a bunch of good coaches. So I'm not bringing a business proposal in, man. I got to get the secondary stuff through Collett, and I got to get the front stuff through Gamble. And
You know, and so, you know, it gets picked apart. And then I got to get, you know, Tuesday I'll try to do something in practice, and Sweetland's over there with his hat doing that number. When he starts doing that, then I know there's something he don't like. So by the time we get to Friday, we've got it pretty pared down that your players win games. And I never had any fun being confused, not knowing what I was doing. What's fun about football is running around, tackling, blocking, hitting, scoring touchdowns. And so, yeah, we learned a lot in that first game, but thank you for saying that.
One thing real quick, Brian. Just want to let everybody know what was impressive about Coach Nick's being named the head coach the other day. I run the youth sports here in Alcoa, and first day, being named head coach sends me a text wanting to meet about the youth football programs. And, you know, it says a lot about he just doesn't have the interest at the high school, middle school level, but also at our youth level, where kids at the elementary and intermediate. So I think we'll be working together and get everything streamlined all the way from the high school down to our kids playing third and fourth grade ball, which is a blessing because over the years past, in the youth football program, we felt like it's kind of like you're out on an island on your own. You've got the infrastructure built in at your schools, but in your youth sport, you kind of run your own entity, okay? And over the years, we struggled somewhat here and there with having continuity, and we've made some changes here in the last several weeks. And of course, with Coach Nick's coming on and expressing his interest, I'm personally, and several of we've got younger kids playing, not only the continued success of the high school and middle school, but also look for youth sports programs, especially in terms of the football program, to look very different. And thanks for doing
Thank you. I think we all know that's how you keep from having rises and falls in your program. You know, you'll see places that have a couple of great years and they fall off, and have a couple of great years and they fall off, but just that continuity through. And I talk to our players, those little kids, they see you as NFL players. You know, they don't see you as anything different. When you come in that locker room, when you come to those camps, I mean, if you've never been to our kids' camps where our players work it, and you see guys like TT and Cam Burden and those guys out there, and how awesome, you know, Lance is like, I mean, he just walks around with like 8 little kids draped over him, like it's there's on his hair, and you know just how much they love that dude. It really makes it special, and that's once again, everybody doesn't get that. You know, I can walk in that intermediate school and I know kids. I can walk in that middle school and I know kids. They can walk up here and, you know, my kids, when they get out of school on Friday on game day, I don't like see them again until 10. I'm really not sure where they go. But they're somewhere on this campus, and I feel like because that they're pretty safe. That's pretty, in this day and age, that's a special thing. And so I hope that I can do everything I can. I'm going to make it, you know, a priority of mine. That's why I called you first, to make sure that we have as much continuity coming through, and that everybody realizes this is not just Alcoa High School's football team, but this is our community's team. Thank you. Sweetland, you're not going to ask something about like the double dig or can't? No midline questions here. Anybody else? Guys, thank y'all. So, I mean, I know I've said it about 4 times, but it's very humbling that you come here and spend your night, and just appreciate all the support that you give us, that you give our kids. This is a great place. It's a special place, and hopefully we'll continue to do everything. I promise you that we will be tireless in trying to find ways that we can help our kids and hopefully give them the things that you know. I always say it's 5 and 10 years down the road when you truly see the success. You know, when their husbands, when kids, you know, it's like I said, when they send me those texts, and it's not when I got the head coaching job, but it's when they need a job, when they had a great accomplishment, when they got a promotion. That's where you see the true success, and you know that what you're doing is worth it. And it is. You know, Miss Rochelle can tell you, being in education, law, and all I mean, there's nobody that helps troubled kids in this community more than that lady. Anybody knows that. Kids that a lot of people are ready to give up on and ship to the side, and that's easy. You know, that's one thing we always say. It's easy we got to turn that tag, right, boss? You know, and you know, we're always, you know, trying to find that kid. And I'll say at the coaches conference, I was like, you know, everybody's giving up on this kid, right? His English teacher's giving up on him. His mom's tired of him. Once you get tired of him, he's done. And so I promise you that we will do everything we can
to kids who are having issues, having trouble, to try to give them that support. And I always say it's the carrot we can dangle to some kids. You know, we make a mistake that, you said this before, Jason, as kids who are having trouble, they get recognized on Friday night for the touchdowns and things they score, and it's almost like we should punish them and take that away. But that's the carrot we can keep dangling to try to say, you've got to start doing right in the classroom. You've got to start doing it, because once you cut that off, now that you have no more motivation, that's the one thing that they may value, and that's what gives it value. That's why the game, otherwise it's just a bunch of kids playing a game, and it's a bunch of grown men coaching kids playing a game. But if we're doing that and we're developing it, we know, when Jake Warwick comes back and works for us, that's special. That's special. I know, Mama, I know. When we had a chance to get him, I was out on the beach in Hawaii, right? Making fun and just trying to do everything I can to manipulate a situation to get that dude. Because when you can get a kid like that back, with a family like theirs that played for you, and then he comes back and you see the kind of man he's turning into, and you walk into that gym and he's down there, got his arm around the kid, and he's talking to him, and them kids love him, that's why you do it. And so I promise you that we'll do it that way the best we can for as long as we can do it. Anything else?
You listen well.
Huh?
He's talking. You listen well.
Yeah, I got all you. I got your turn and tag. I got it. That's because you and I, we like we are propaganda machines. Yeah. But there's substance with it too. Yeah.
It was the shirt that did it.
I still got the shirt. I'll wear it on Friday. Anything else?
It's your show, man. Thank you all. I appreciate it.